Resident Evil, Raccoon City, Return to Raccoon City. You know, when I first heard about this movie coming out and I saw the preview to it, I said, oh, wait a minute, they're kind of like, is this a remake? Because it doesn't look like it's a continuation of the other films that were made based on the video game. So I went to see it, and when I saw it, I was pleasantly surprised. What's cool about this particular movie is that it's definitely not connected to the other films, right? But what I liked about this one was that it had such honor, I guess, if I could say it like that, to the original video game. Like, one of the complaints that a lot of people had about the first Resident Evil film that came out in the early 2000s and then all the other sequels behind it was, it's not like the video game at all, right? In this one, it's a lot like the video game. Like I would say about maybe 75% of the film is the video game. I would say it like around that number. For those of you who, like myself, when that video game first came out in the mid 1990s, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed playing it. I played the whole thing. It took me months to finish it. I was big on this game at the time. And I played Resident Evil 2 and then 3. I kind of went through them a little bit. Then I kind of like fell off on it. But I always remember enjoying and playing the video game. This movie brought back a lot of that. What I liked about this film also was that it had a kind of definitely an old-fashioned, even John Carpenter-ish kind of feel to it. Like when you see the opening credits, it reminded me of a lot of John Carpenter's films and how they would start back in the day. And I was like, hey, you know what? That reminds me of The Thing, or that reminds me of They Live, the way the credits would roll and everything like that. So I thought that was pretty cool. There was almost an influence there, I like to think. Basically, if you know the story of Resident Evil, it has to do with that nasty old T-virus and how it kind of like fed into the water supply system of Raccoon City, starting to slowly turn people into zombies or other kinds of creatures. It would affect the people. It would affect the wildlife, like birds. It would affect the, as you could see, a dog, right? You see these in the video game, and you see them come play very well in this movie. I would even say it has a very campy nature to it. Like, again, I said earlier about the John Carpenter thing. It's very campy. A very horror movie campy-ish. If you're into that kind of horror, you'll like Resident Evil Raccoon City, even if you didn't see the video game. Even if you're not into the video game, you never played it, you don't know that. If you're into that kind of stuff, this movie's for you. The main characters, Chris and Claire Redfield, they were both brother and sister. You see a little bit of their past, going through their trauma of living in an orphanage, and Claire and Chris was almost succumbed to experiments by the main guy, who you see later on in the film again. It doesn't work out too well with him. The movie keeps going, they start trying to evacuate the city of all essential personnel and screw everybody else. What's going to happen now is that they're going to destroy the entire area, I think, to contain the spread of the T-virus. Whereas the first films back in the early 2000s turned this into a worldwide, global end-of-the-world apocalyptic scenario. This film kind of like really just situated the whole thing to this town, to Raccoon City. And you hear the characters constantly complaining about how crappy this town is. How bad it is and everything. And I guess it gives you more of a reason why maybe the antagonists of this film really don't care much about like trying to sustain it or save it. One of the characters, Wesker, right? He's in this film as one of the Star's police, right? And what's funny is that when you see his character angle develop through the movie, all the way into the post-credit scene. There's a post-credit scene. You got to check it out. You start seeing his origin more concretely, and it's very similar to the video game. So, again, there's a lot of homage to the video game. So you see Wesker and his transformation from being kind of like a good guy to probably eventually an antagonist. I actually do see a sequel to this film coming out at some point. The mansion when you play the video game, the first thing that they bring you to is the mansion, okay? And the mansion is exactly like the way it looked in the video game. As a matter of fact, there were certain shots of the zombies and stuff like that that was identical to some of the things you see in the original video game. I'm talking about the original PlayStation 1 Resident Evil video game from the mid-90s. I mean, it was just great. I thought, I was like, hey, that was pretty cool. I kind of like that shot. You had everything there. You had the dogs. You had the birds. You had locks. You had keys. You had doors that you had to open, and you had to like find out certain clues to get into certain things. And I thought that that was pretty cool because all it did was not only did it feed the plot well, all right, but it gave you a sense of dread. You get scared a little bit. This movie was good. I'm gonna give Resident Evil Return to Raccoon City 3 coffee cups. It was a really good brew, a good taste. I enjoyed it, and I would definitely recommend it to all of you Resident Evil fans, both fans of the films that came out in the last 20 years and the video game, particularly the video games, the early video games. All right, so just give it a shot. Give this a chance. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. I wasn't disappointed. I actually like this movie. Now, some people aren't gonna like it. They're gonna, oh, it sucked. Okay, fine. You know, I mean, again, I can't convince you. I can only tell you how I feel, and I liked it. I liked it. So let me know. Talk to me, comment below, and share with me what you think of Resident Evil Return to Raccoon City with all the zombies and the T-virus and the mutants and all the monsters. You see some creepy monsters, like the scientist dude, the main scientist dude turns into this mutant creature that is just like hideous, but it's very, very similar to the video game. Again, very video game-ish homage film, and I thought it was a great idea that they made this film. Very campy, very it was short, it was sweet, and to the point. So let me know what you think down below, and I'll see you next time. Ralph Perez from Horror and Coffee. Make sure you subscribe, please. If you like this video, hit that like button and tap on the bell for future notifications. Take care.